On today's DNVR Nuggets podcast, we're going to be talking about whether or not the Nuggets need to discover a new identity or rediscover their old one. This is DNVR Nuggets. Baby.
That was unsettling.
What's that?
That was very dramatic.
I wanted a dramatic.
Mission accomplished. Mission accomplished.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the DNVR Nuggets Podcast.
Let's go.
Presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use that code DNVR365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Fellas, the three-man weave is back again. We had Nuggets practice. We're talking about a big topic today that I think is very, very interesting. We're also going to talk about the NBA Cup. We got a lot of things going on. Brendan Vogt is in the house.
Fellas, how's it going, man? It's nice to get back to practice. Haven't seen the other fellas in a while today, so I'll get everyone updated when it's my time for practice notes.
It's going to be very soon. That's always first. I can't wait to hear about them. I actually listened to it, but I'm curious to hear what you saw and observed at practice today. Harrison Wind is in the building.
I'm really enjoying this pre-All-Star break.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. Only one game this week.
Yeah.
Then another couple days off.
Yeah.
Got to get time for the NBA Cup, you know.
You gotta get
whatever
time.
we got to do for the Cup.
I honestly wonder, man, you joke, but I honestly wonder if the Nuggets look at this, not that they were trying to blow the cup or anything, but this year in particular, I wonder if they're like, you know what's nice? A little week off.
I wouldn't be surprised if they thought that.
There's a handful of teams next year that are like, dude, we don't want to win this thing.
Doesn't it seem like there's more time off this year than last year?
Well,
this
to start
was
the
not
season,
the case last year.
I'm just sitting here, man. I feel like we're just sitting here waiting.
Is it a bad sign that we've had like 3 weeks off and we're like 21 games into the season,
Yeah.
basically?
I mean,
is
it's
the
a little
last
weird.
month going to be hell?
Yeah, well, I think the rest of the year is going to be hell once it picks up again.
Just give it a couple weeks, actually. Christmas week.
But we did have practice today, and neither Win nor myself could make it. But Vogt, you were there, and I'm gonna be honest, man. I'm so bummed I'm missing practice this week because there's some practice. A lot of practices are just routine. I'm very curious to be around the team this week. You were there. What did you observe before you get into the notes?
Yeah, Malone, I thought it was a good mood for Michael Malone. I think it was inspired by practice. That's just what I would say. You kind of get a good feel right off the bat what kind of mood everyone's in. And I got the sense that Michael Malone got the sense that this has been productive time so far to start the week for the Nuggets. So, look, man, doing that practice and those questions after the Hawks game instead of the Wizards game,
Right.
I can't even imagine how different the vibe would have been. But I think everyone was is eager to extend what they had going in that game through and try to keep it going. So
Yeah, I think that's a big
definitely
part of it.
vibing
Was
in.
everybody there? I mean, was there anybody unique in the gym today or anything like that?
everybody was there. Jamal Murray was there.
Yeah.
And let's actually just go ahead and
go
talk
for it.
about that. Jamal Murray was only able to go through portions of practice today, still limited, but he did go through portions of practice. Malone said he will likely be listed as questionable going into Friday's game.
On that note, though, I do have an update from one Ryan Green, who was also at practice. He did say he heard them scrimmaging very loud.
Yep.
And at one point, someone yelled, "Great play, Jamal."
Ooh.
So portions of practice, usually it sounds like, was he just doing the free throws? Was he, doing the karaoke drill? It sounds like he participated at least. I mean, they don't say this, but he might have participated in some of the more intense parts. Who knows?
Seemed that way. And then they're late after practice ended, getting shots up, last guy on the floor. And there are some videos up, Katie Winchie's Twitter, DNVR Nuggets. I know it's just shoot around, but shooting really well. Made 18 threes in a row. We watched him make 9 of 10. Looked, I thought maybe.
Lock in, Jamal.
Looked maybe, I thought, a little thinner, although that stuff is always, but I
Can you
think,
imagine if we got every day, they were like, you know what, Kale's looking a little thinner.
I know, man.
Kale,
I do think
I've
about
noticed
that a lot.
if you look at where he was in October
Well,
to
the
now.
chat kind of does that for us,
That's
actually.
so true.
Yeah.
Actually, they do
The
every
chat
now
will
and then.
let you know if you're losing control a little bit.
Comparing to us, we get commented on our appearances constantly.
Totally.
It would be like, Kale,
Part of the job.
He's doing facial hair. Is he depressed? I think it means
Right.
he's depressed.
I have learned. I've put some weight on. I've learned that recently. But yeah, Jamal looked good. He was there. So it was a questionable. Questionable is the
Come on,
key
Jamal.
word heading into Friday.
It's the time. It's the time right now.
Is it too early? for Jamal.
Oh gosh, stop that! We can't do this, man. I can't do this.
Sorry.
To come back? To come back?
No, he's saying like peak too early. He usually doesn't start playing while they're January.
Yeah. We need you. Wait till January.
Continue with the practice.
He's getting ready to return. A big question about how they use the time off to their benefit here. And Malone said, I think we already have. And it's weird. 2 games in 7 days this week. Next week, 2 in 7. And then the Grinch comes out. We play 5 in 7 the week of Christmas. So when you know that, you have to be smart about the approach. Monday was a blackout day. Everybody stay home after a 3-game road trip. Yesterday was more of a player development and treatment kind of day. And then he said, today we got after it. And my message was there are 3 areas that we really need to work on: transition, paint, and rebounding. Those 3 areas are really hurting us. We're bottom 5 in all 3 categories. And he said his message to the team in practice today was, if we can just do 1 possession better, right, in each of those categories, we can get this defensive rating down to 110.8. He's done the math on it. He says it's hanging in the air. It's right there. We just have to do a better job of taking it.
I don't know how much I like this one, Wind, and I'm curious because you can play this game one less free throw, 1 less 3, 1 less this. To me, I look at it and I go, the Nuggets are not executing very well on defense. To me, throw out the 1 possession stuff. It's more like if they're playing the same defense but cut out one of those, yes, the numbers might go down, but I won't buy their defense until, and we're going to talk about the NBA Cup last night, but you saw some teams that execute on defense at a high level. So while the sentiment and the math probably checks out, I still look at it and go, yeah, but the Nuggets also 50% of the time blow a guard-to-guard switch.
Right.
Or off-ball lose somebody. Or don't rotate the low man.
This team on defense plays like they were just thrown together and they've never played before, and they're playing like the first game ever of the season. Like, that's how bad their communication and discipline and just defensive IQ has been. Looks like it's the first time playing together for these guys. And in reality, this is a group that's played together a ton. So it's been pretty inexcusable, just the lapses there, I feel like.
I agree.
But Malone, that's an optimistic quote from him.
Yeah, and he did close that quote, by the way, with saying it was a really good practice today. He did talk about the defense. We have to defend. There's no secret about it. There's no way we should go from being 8th in defense last year to being, I think, 16th right now, Malone said. Offensively,
how are they 16th in defense? Feels like they're 36.
There are a bunch of stats about this team that don't necessarily make a lot of sense. And I do think it's kind of what we've been saying, which is like what we've seen on the floor is different than what this team is on paper, flaws and all. But to keep going here with the quote, Malone said, offensively, we've never had an issue. 7th in offensive efficiency, dominating the paint. Our assist numbers are through the roof.
Yeah.
Offensively, we have to protect the ball, and we do have to shoot more threes. But defensively, as I mentioned, you can't be 26th in transition, 28th in the paint, and then 28th in gang rebounding. Those numbers.
By the way, how do you measure gang rebounding?
I listened back to that 4 times just to make sure that's what he said. Gang rebounding. I don't know if those numbers are not conducive to winning at a high level. So here's our message. Get your ass back. Guard the ball. Give help when you have to. Fly around. He's getting fired up as he does this. Fly around. And then stop ball watching. Stop leaking out. Find a body. Hit someone. And then we can run. And that's the crazy thing. Our defense hasn't been great. Our rebounding's been poor. And we're still first in the league in transition. Yeah. Imagine what our 20 points per game in transition could be if we actually guarded and rebounded at a higher level.
Yeah.
So it does seem like defense, which can feed into transition where they've been very good, is something Malone wants to see them kind of round off and sharpen off here. And then he also said we have to get off to better starts. Here's a stat for you, chat. The Nuggets are 7-0 when they win the first quarter this season. 5-0 when up at halftime.
I was going to say, wait, they've won the first quarter 7 times?
7 times, and 5-0 when up at halftime. So he said, let's not wait to the third quarter. Playing from a deficit every night is exhausting, and it's a really bad habit to get into.
It is exhausting.
Yeah.
I think he's right with that.
There's no question. Is it a habit, though? And we're going to table this. I'm just going to ask the question. When something happens over and over and over again, I just tend to go, is that a thing that is controllable or not? You know what I mean? Like, hey, stop doing that. Well, they keep doing it. So what's going on that's leading to that? Table that for now.
And then finally on the rotation, he did finally say, I don't want to play 8 guys. He says you don't want to get to the point in January where everyone's exhausted. Pointed out that Murray and AG have already missed time. And he said, you worry about the Michael Porters and the Nikolas, especially. He does. We do that too. I love when
all
the Michael Porters.
All of the Michael Porters.
Maybe even just Michael Porter.
Yeah, it could just be him.
So those are your Michael Malone notes today, fellas.
Love it.
We heard from Aaron Gordon Just says he feels good. His body is coming back to him. Now he's just got to get his wind and get back into playing shape.
Which is good to know. Thinks he'll take a couple weeks. That's, a better AG on the way, I think.
How difficult was it to miss time mentally? And AG said, man, it was difficult. You fall out of a routine a little bit.
Did he like do an AG impersonation?
I did.
Man.
Do it in his voice, though. Go all the way ahead. I want to hear it. No, you just did it. Man, it was difficult.
It was difficult mentally in my Brendan Vogt voice. Yeah. You fall out of a routine a little bit. He said, just the reps. And he says, I also use basketball as a sanctuary, an escape to get away from everything. And not having that was difficult. But it was a new perspective to look at the team, he said, not to watch them while on the sidelines. What did he learn by watching the team, fellas? Quite a bit. Basically, that we're not where we need to be right now. But he did say it's only a few minor adjustments away, he thinks. Why hasn't that happened yet? How are they this far into the season and still not where they need to be? AG said, care factor, I think. Guys got to care. Guys got to want it. And I'm feeling that now. And then on Jokic's approach, we've asked, is he more aggressive than ever? Is that out of necessity? AG just says it's just his ruthlessness, his ability to do it. It's just
great word choice.
It is, because Jokic is becoming ruthless. I love it. Ruthless Jokic.
Ruthless Jokic. We also heard from Christian Braun, who
we went to Browntown.
Is in a great mood. It's kind of a weird note. We only get to talk to these guys in limited capacity. Christian, I have found, is more of a matter of a fact interview typically. Today, I just thought he was in a really good mood. I mean, he's been playing really well, so that might be part of it. When asked about his biggest challenge in the season, though, so far, personally, he says it's the same that it's always been with the new twist, and that is the balance of what you do in your own time in terms of development and conditioning versus what's needed from you on the court. And this year, that's different, right? And it's a blessing, he said, but he's playing more minutes. He has a higher workload, higher responsibilities. So then how hard does he go in the off days? How hard does he work on his personal development? And then trying to keep his body right. So he's tried to pick Russell Westbrook's brain a lot because that is a guy that has a lot of physical and mental energy every day.
Yeah, I'd ask him how to keep my body right too.
He did point out that
some good tips.
He said, Russ is big. Russ has his own guys. He's got his own staff kind of helping him, right? And so Christian kind of laughed and said, I'm not there yet, but there are some things I can work into my routine. Even little things like cutting the soda out on the team planes and stuff like that. And then finally
they serve soda on team planes?
I mean, you know what? I don't know.
I think they probably do, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're not like, it's not like they have to drink water. You're just supposed to make that choice, I think. And then finally, Christian Braun on the Jokic quotes, guys. And I asked him specifically about the quotes that he saw through the media. And he said, I think people saw it, but I don't know how much that the team, I don't know that we listen to that or make note of that. We have talks within our team that Nikola speaks up in. We have talks when DeAndre speaks up, Russ speaks up, coach speaks up, whoever it is. We have a lot of guys that speak up, and we need more of that, obviously, but we don't watch too much of the media stuff. And then he said, but obviously the comment is right. We're on the court. We have to produce. Doesn't matter what it is. There's no excuses. We need to win games. We have the best player in the world, top 10 player of all time on our team.
Love that.
And he's playing great.
Top 10.
Yeah,
he's out there every single game playing really well. So we need to help him. And he said this twice, actually, guys, in his scrum. It's not a scheme thing. It's not a coaching thing. It's a player thing. We all need to show up ready to play and do our part. That's our job.
I feel like from all these quotes, and I watched the video, and you guys can watch them as well up on the DNVR or on the YouTube page for DNVR after the show, of course, and you can check them out. I honestly, my takeaway was that, as is almost always the case with pro sports, you get away from it from a little bit and things feel good. It is good. I like your note about they won that last game because it would. I don't know if that would have been the case if they're coming in on a bunch of L's.
Yeah. But
I do feel like the team kind of got a breather. Like they come up for air, regroup, get some practices in, and that's just the vibe I got off of the media availabilities.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting the guys Christian mentioned that speak up.
Yeah,
DeAndre, Russell Westbrook, and Michael Malone.
Yeah.
That feels like the leader coalition of this team right now.
Yeah, I think you're
Those
right.
guys.
And
interesting.
Only notable omissions.
You would love for Jamal to be in
Jamal
that group.
and maybe Porter, because
the injury has taken him away from that a little bit recently. I don't know.
And the play, I think honestly, it's like, all right, if Jamal's speaking up right now, I think guys might be rolling their eyes. So I agree with you. It is very interesting. Veteran guys. So that's the practice stuff. And there's a couple more quotes about the identity of the team that we're going to push to segment 2, because for the next segment or two, I want to talk about, are the Nuggets trying to build the 2023 Nuggets with new cast and characters, but that's the identity? Or is it possible the Nuggets have to find a new identity now, even though a lot of the pieces are the same? That's coming up next.
Shout out to one of our newest partners, Verizon. Guys, this
Shout
is
'em
the
out.
season to switch to Verizon. Looking for a holiday gift? Hook them up with a Verizon phone. Right now, you can get a $200 Verizon gift card when you switch and purchase a select phone on select unlimited plans. Start the holidays off right with a great network. Use that gift card to start checking other great tech gifts off your list, like smartwatches, tablets, headphones. Verizon has all that stuff too. Get set up on the 5G network that powers your day. Right now, you can switch to Verizon, get that $200 gift card only at Verizon. I've had Verizon my whole life, ever since I got my first phone. I'd never switched. I'm a day one guy. I will always stick with Verizon. They're the best network out there. The 5G network. It powers
It's like
your day.
Lillard levels of loyalty, dude. It's like Dame Lillard levels of loyalty.
Yeah, I mean, there's no competition.
He was so loyal.
That's the one
still-
thing that's
$200 Verizon e-gift card sent within 8 weeks. Requires device payment purchase. Minimum retail price of $799.99 and poured in with new smartphone line on postpaid, unlimited plus, or unlimited ultimate plan required.
It's a big brand ad segment here for DNVR. Bringing the big guns in. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. Trucks have always been a part of Toyota's DNA for generations. Toyota has built durable lessons destined for greatness and perfect for Colorado, which again, to me, just sounds like a description of Jokic. Whether you're conquering off-road trails or hauling the weight of the world, there's a Toyota truck that's just right for you. You heard about it. The 2024 Tacoma, about the return of the iconic 2024 Land Cruiser.
Beautiful car.
They've got 17 models all told with available all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive like the Epic 4Runner. And they've got those low and zero emission vehicles as well. No matter what kind of car you're looking to drive, no matter what kind of Coloradan you are, there's a Toyota for you. So do yourself a favor, visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota in Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Peru Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is a proud partner of the Denver Nuggets and the official vehicle of DNVR.
All right, back here, segment 2. Guys, get these likes up. Throw us a like. We always ask for this, and I know some people ignore it. Help us grow the show. One of my favorite things is when we find new people that find the show, and they're like, man, I love this. Where's this always been? It's right here. Help us grow it. It's the best way you can help us. Just throw us a little like. Maybe hop in the comments. All right, in the Toyota chat. All right, so real quick, guys. The identity of this team is something I keep thinking about because what won the Nuggets a title in 2023? It was the Murray-Jokic two-man game and everybody understanding exactly how they fit in alongside that. What is your role? We haven't seen a ton of the Murray-Jokic two-man game this year. They've been effective when they're both on the court. The Nuggets are dominating. I think it's plus 15 net rating, something like that, even though it hasn't looked that way. But it's not so much the two-man game. So it's got me thinking about whether or not the Nuggets this year, part of the challenge is that you think it's the same team, but it's not. Murray maybe has lessened. Jokic has risen. You asked Michael Malone this at practice, and he said, I think it's not identifying who we are, but accepting it, embracing it, and doing it. The first part of this is interesting because it's almost like, no, we know. And Christian Braun, by the way, it's not a scheme thing. It's not a coaching thing. Kind of answers that as well. It's not that we have to figure this out. We know what it is. We have to accept it, embrace it, and do it.
Yeah. It's an interesting quote. I feel like the best the Nuggets have looked this year is when they've embraced what it feels like might be their new identity.
Okay.
And that's more Jokic ball than the two-man game.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if the Nuggets really were going to be the 2023 version of themselves and have that exact identity, this is just a fire take. They're coming to arrest me.
Sirens on Colfax.
Sirens on Colfax, baby.
If they were going to become, the 2023 Nuggets again and have that identity, they need Jamal Murray to be Jamal Murray. Like, without that team is not that team, and that identity is not there. The best they've looked this year is with, Nikola Jokic and just more Jokic ball around him. Everybody else being more equal than just, the two-man game kind of standing alone. I feel like that's the direction they have to go. Until Jamal Murray proves, or if he proves, that he can be that guy.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, I gave you that lengthier quote earlier about defense and transition, and that was an extension for Malone from this quote. So when he says accepting it, embracing it, and doing it, being a defensive team. And then suddenly, guys, they've become offensively this very good transition team. And so converting defense into points. But they haven't done the defense part of that equation yet.
Well, what's funny to me about that, and I don't even blame Malone, coaches always have the same thing on their mind, and for Malone, it's just defense. So I almost feel like he's not answering it. We need to play better defense. Right. Is that an identity? Like playing good defense? How do you play good defense? What's the personality of your defense? Because not every defense is the same. And so it's not that he copped out of the answer. He just took you to what he thought was more interesting. Identity, forget that. Just defend.
But I think he also, it kind of illuminates, and this tracks for Malone the whole time. He thinks they have it offensively. He mentioned that, like, the ball's
scoring really well.
The ball's popping. Yeah. The ball is popping. That's such a weird. We've been so upset by other things, we haven't really gotten to celebrate that so much. So he loves that part. I think he just thinks it's the defense part that's missing.
Here's a weird, and I'm being like so critical here for no reason. Is the ball popping? Because there's a lot of assists, but I almost feel like it's a lot of rust to Jokic. You know what I mean? It's like one pass type stuff. The ball is popping. There have been good possessions where the ball gets popping. To me, a ball popping is like 6 passes to a shot. I think the Nuggets are getting like 2-man game and stuff going really well. I think, but to your point, I still agree that they won the title because when you get to the playoffs, that 2-man game becomes 80% of your identity.
Yeah.
And I do think with you that in the regular season, it probably only needs to be 20% of your identity. And so I agree with the general thought of what you're getting at.
Well, to your previous point, I think what Nikola Jokic is doing from an individual offensive standpoint has covered up a lot of bad moments and just bad structure of the Nuggets offense. I mean, that's been my take. Like, I think he's doing a lot of work to cover up for how inept things have been around him.
Yeah. He's good at covering those things up.
He's amazing at it. He's a top 5 offense by himself.
Yeah, he kind of.
But I do think, man, I don't know. I'm curious because they are first in the league in assists per game, or at least they were heading into the week, and it's 2 guys over 6 assists per game in Russ and Murray. Jokic up high, and Porter almost up to 3 assists per game. Like, guys are doing it.
You're right.
So
you're right.
But I think part of his point is, I think their path to being elite offensively in his mind is turning up the defense because they're so good in transition. So like if that as opposed to them turning it over and capping themselves, can they start turning teams over and turning that into the easy offense they now have with, I mean, I think of Christian Braun first and foremost in transition. So
I think the Nuggets are going to need the Murray Jokic 2-man game to win a title. I think that represents a ceiling, a safety net, a clutch time offense that you need. And I think in 2023, they had the perfect balance of those two things, you know, getting the ball popping. I think in 2024, it was almost like we won a title with this. Let's do it for 82 games.
Just do it 82 times.
And it got away from that. I think that, but here's the thing. And it's funny, we were, you know, to name drop, we were out with Bill Simmons having some drinks the other night. And one of the things that D-Line was very adamant about was they don't need the Murray Jokic 2-man game. They have the Aaron Gordon Jokic 2-man game. That part I disagree with. Murray is so dynamic in what he does. Like, the Nuggets and Jokic can run, or Jokic and Murray can run the 2-man game 20 times and get a different look 20 times if that's what's needed. I don't think you can do that with Aaron Gordon. Like, they can do some really good, tough stuff to guard, but there's not all these different layers that you can run off of. It's just not as versatile. So I think it's a part of it. But to me, I do think if you talk about the part where it has to be rediscovering the old, I mean, Jamal Murray has to get back to being Jokic's dance partner, but yet he has to get back to doing it at 20%, not 80%. So it's almost like we need him to get back to that speed while also not trying too hard to get back to that speed or pushing the button too much.
Yeah. You're totally right. I mean, they don't sniff the finals if Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic don't have the 2-man game. Yeah. You need to rely on that in the playoffs. You have to lean on that. Some of the other stuff that I feel like they can perfect in the regular season is just not going to translate to the playoffs.
And part of rediscovering the identity here, so let's just talk about the 2-man game part and the rediscovering it. One of the things that really worked in 2023, and by the way, it didn't really work until the playoffs. If you remember that year, they had obviously won a lot of games, but I feel like the acceptance of where you are in in the pecking order and what your role is really coalesced in the playoffs, not before it. And it was in the playoffs where Michael Porter was like, all right, I'm in the corners. KCP, all right, I'm in the corners. I'm getting 6 shots. Aaron Gordon's in the dunker. He's involved in all this. Bruce Brown knew exactly what he was doing. And I think right now, Russ, when he's on the court, there's an identity there. Get it to Jokic. I think obviously the starters, but I think that there is still when Malone says accept it, embrace it, weirdly, it's almost a reduction in some ways for a lot of key players, and some of whom have been playing well, including Mike. I don't think he's the biggest culprit, but I think when you look at Peyton and you look at Mike and you look at even Christian sometimes and Russ, there's almost an acceptance in Jamal, an acceptance of like, hey, this is who we are. I know you could do that, but it's not who we are. So let's do this and let's really cultivate it and just focus on your part of that machine and don't worry about any other part you're not involved in.
Yeah. I mean, you got a lot of guys on this team who are key contributors that haven't made a lot of money in their NBA career that are about to.
Yes.
And you got 3 guys that fit that bill in the rotation. One starter in Christian Braun, and then Peyton Watson and Julian Strawther coming off the bench. And we've talked about this. Like, you will get a contract extension if you do your job.
Yeah.
If you defend, if you stay on the floor, if you play your role. Where you might not get that extension is if you try to do more than what your role is. And you try to color outside the lines. That's where Bones Highland messed up. But that's what those guys have to understand. I got to guarantee Michael Malone's talking to some of those guys in that quote. I've got to think so. He's probably talking to other guys on the roster, but probably those 3 as well. Accepting your role, that's something everybody on a championship team has to do.
I think more Jokic, though, if you talk about now we get into differences. So the first part is accepting and embracing it. And next segment, we're going to talk NBA Cup a little bit. That there are teams, Orlando is one of them. The OKC is definitely one, where the role players on there have fully accepted what their role is on that team. And some of the guys that have the most shine get 3 shots a game. Yeah. And you're like, that's one of their best players. But they just so fully are in there and get joy from making plays. I want to couch that because we'll get to it. But I do think that this year might be the season of more Jokic. And it's not just because it's been that so far. Clearly, that's out of necessity. But I look at it and I go, the Murray-Jokic 2-man game at its absolute apex was kind of a 50-50 proposition. And I do think you get there in the playoffs. But I actually think that right now, it might be a 65-35 thing. Because Jokic right now is such a monster that I'm most happy. Like, Russ right now is 95-5. When he has the ball, he's like 95% I'm going back to Jokic here.
Yeah.
And I think that that's honestly where this probably shakes out, even as Murray gets going. Still think Jokic first because he's so dominant right now.
Yeah. And you probably think that way until the defense just really adjusts.
Yep.
And maybe that comes later at some point this season. Maybe it comes not until the playoffs.
And then you punish them because they're a better scorer than us.
The defense will adjust at some point. We'll see the shift happen eventually. It hasn't happened yet. Yeah, he's still getting the ball 5 feet from the basket and scoring every time. We'll see the shift, but it will be about how the Nuggets pivot from there.
Yeah. I see a comment in the chat I want to address. Ian Ivy maybe says, what are we talking about? If they do their role, they're unplayable at best. It's not going to happen. You know who played for the... Let's go through some guys that played last night and played well. AJ Mitchell, 6'2" rookie, plays great for them. Plays unbelievably well. Kenrich Williams, unbelievable well. He was cut from the Nuggets. Plays unbelievably
Maybe your original
well.
guy.
We're going to get back to him. There's the thing, man. Role players like Peyton Watson's a good defensive player. He doesn't do everything right now. I don't know that he has full acceptance of his role because if he did, he would rebound a little bit better. Like there's some more to give there. But I look at that and I go, the great teams have guys. AJ Green is playing phenomenally. Andre Jackson cannot throw the ball. He can't shoot a layup. Playing phenomenally well. Look at the Orlando Magic that went toe-to-toe with the Milwaukee Bucks last night, missing their 2 best players, but they just... get Jet Howard stepping up. They get some of these guys that can go in. So I just don't buy this idea that your 6th, 7th, and 8th best guys in your rotation can't perform the role, especially when we talk about what is the role? Defense? That's actually what they are great at. So to me, I just disagree with this. It's not what basketball is about. It's not just an accumulation of talent, LeBron. It's about, hey, guys understanding and accepting the role, at being clear and performing that role at the high level.
And that's why... how inept the Nuggets second unit has been on offense over the years has been so frustrating to me because these guys are not this bad.
Yeah.
And that's why when you go get a backup center who's looked good and then he comes to Denver and he sucks, I don't think it's because of that player. It's the system, man. Like that system, it just does not work. It takes the sum of the parts. It's not as good as it should be. And we talked about this recently too. Like, there's something happening where you have these talented players and it just doesn't work with, whatever that unit's trying to do.
And with the way the offense is now and their success in transition, if you just do the defense stuff, you will also score. You will. I mean, I think that's kind of it. Like, so pick up your 8 points per game the easy way instead of maybe hijacking possessions here and there or just misunderstanding what it means to try and make a play. And then lastly, I would just say, like, it's these guys, like, in terms of their best and their worst, they played a 10-man rotation when they beat the Hawks by 30, and that was their best. And so that's not who they are every night. It's not, but I actually don't think that it's true that each of these players at their best is unplayable. To Wynn's great point, Denver just has this very persistent non-Jokic minute issue that I do put on the coaching staff, frankly.
Winning players are so valuable. And I was talking with Legler today on the All-NBA show. Josh Hart, Alex Caruso, Jalen Suggs. These are guys that just make winning plays, and they can be dominant in 35 minutes with 4 points. Yeah. And you look at Alex Caruso and you're like, what did he do tonight? Nice, 2 of 4. Why is he a plus 22? Because he just takes break. For him, success is all those plays he make that just disrupts. And I look at P. Watt right now and I go, that guy, the Nuggets need a winning plays player. They have guys. I mean, Christian Braun makes winning plays. Sure. Like, they have some guys. And Peyton makes a lot of winning plays. Like, he makes a lot of winning plays. But I'm saying, to me, I would almost, the message is almost, hey, make 10 winning plays a game. And maybe that means 20 points because the winning play was a cut or this or that. But maybe the winning play was just you grabbed a rebound off of a really hard-fought possession that you had no business getting. Kenrich Williams last night checks into the game at center. Very first play, offensive rebound, and then leads to a second offensive rebound on that same play. It ends up in a 3. What does he get for that? 1 offensive rebound, 1 good box out that doesn't show up in the box score, no assist, no point. And you're like, man, that was a backbreaker, those types of plays. So I look at it and I go, those types of plays, and they have to be rewarded. And when you talk about guys like Suggs, makes a lot of money. He's never averaged more than 16 points. He's averaging 16. I think last year was like 11. You look at Caruso, never a high point per game guy, but those guys get paid, they stay on rosters, and they get accolades because of how well they execute.
Look at Christian, who's now a 15 point per game guy in a starting
not even doing
lineup,
anything,
not even doing anything different. Yeah, just more of the same. Play hard next to Jokic, good things happen.
All right, we got to do a little halftime here on the other side. We're going to keep going into this identity thing and where it can be different defensively.
Guys, check out our friends over at Live Well. Live Well strives to make cannabis accessible to all because they believe everyone deserves to live well. They have 25 convenient Colorado dispensary locations with a premium selection and expert service that awaits you. Live Well, it's an awesome experience. You go in there, you'll get exactly what you want. They'll guide you to find exactly what you came in there to get. No matter what you're into, Live Well, they definitely have options and products for you. The biggest selection of cannabis flower, edibles, concentrates, and much more. Live Well proudly offers a price match guarantee, ensuring you get the best value by matching local competitors' prices on eligible products. You can go to livewell.com today to reserve your product, but you cannot do the promo code online. You got to go in store, pick up your stuff there, or just walk in and buy. Mention code DNVR25. Get 25% off one regular priced item.
It's a killer deal. Now.
DNVR25 in store only. Got to be in store. Get 25% off one regular priced item.
Did it the other day. And I made that one regular priced item a bulk item, and it was 25% off.
Bulk item.
The guy couldn't
Buy in
believe
bulk.
The guy couldn't believe the code. He's like, "This is great." I said, "I know, man. I'm telling everyone about it." Hey, when I need to go see an event in Denver and I haven't planned, which that happens to me sometimes. I use Game Time. To get myself the best seats at the best price, even at the last second, to see the best events in Denver. And Denver is, in my opinion, what I love about Denver is the right size where you can catch your breath, find your space, find your plot of land and make it happen. But it's big enough that between the music, the comedy, the sports, it all happens here. All your favorite acts are coming through. There's more than 4 professional sports teams. So just use the Game Time app to make sure that you and your friends who are Denverites are coming in out of town. Don't miss an event, even if it's last second. And remember, the Game Time Picks feature is basically a filter that takes the stress out of the shop and compare work. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets altogether with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code DNVR for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it, Adam?
Game time.
That's right.
All right. We're back here. Let's continue this conversation. So offensively, if we reduce this, I do think the Nuggets need to rediscover the two-man game with Murray. That's largely on Jamal. He just has to be up to snuff to do it. But I think that around that, guys have to accept and be comfortable with a quote-unquote limited role that could lead you to 17 points a night, a la Christian Braun, but it might not. But you have to accept that you are there to make the knockout punch that Denver has work. Guys have to accept that. I don't think they're all there yet. Number 2, the defense here. The Nuggets actually have more athleticism and agents of chaos than I think they've ever had on this roster. I mean, Bruce Brown was a good agent of chaos, but Westbrook attacks defensively. P-Watt blocks everything, gets steals. He's an agent of chaos. I think Christian Braun has been surprisingly good at this. I thought this was one thing he wouldn't be good at this year. He actually has done it. Jokic gets these strips. They have guys, but I almost feel like they haven't embraced that part of it yet. And when you watch, again, OKC, not to keep bringing it back, but you watch OKC, they have 5 predators on the court at all time. Those guys are constantly, they're on defense, but they're really on offense. They're hunting for opportunities to disrupt. And I think that's one thing Denver should embrace. And I actually think it would help them solidify the identity of, hey, man, go for everything. Go for everything, P-Watt. Try to block everything. West, try to get every steal. Christian, get up into guys. Like, yes, you want to be low mistake, but I actually think part of this is the intensity on defense needs to be at 100 and it doesn't end. It stays there.
Yeah. I wonder if they haven't had that intensity because they seem so unsure of themselves just in terms of their scheme. Like, there's a lot of times when guys look like they're second guessing. There's a screw up, and you see a lot of guys looking at each other like, "Oh, that was you or me." Like, was that you or me who messed up? And if you don't have that part of it down, you can't be the ultra aggressive Hunter type defensively and make stuff happen in that regard. So I wonder if they have to get the actual scheme, which again, it's not any different. It seems like from what they've been playing in past years, before they unleash that other part of it.
And I also think, right, we talk about everyone pulling in the same direction and all of that. When that's not happening, it's a little bit of like, sod this, man. Like, I don't care. I'm not going to sit here and if this guy's not doing it, like, I'm not doing it. And I do think there's what I hope is that Atlanta was everyone doing it for the first time all year. And maybe a reminder like, oh yeah, like that's all I have to do in this seat. That's all he has to do in this seat, and so on and so forth.
And I think that's a big part of it. Just Denver I think they can be a much more execute your scheme, rotation. Like that stuff is what's going to be most important to Michael Malone. But I do think pulling the dial up a little bit and saying, yeah, but go after steals, man. Go after blocks. Turn the tempo up. You're going to be able to get it. Use the athleticism. And then just dogs. I honestly think that's what it takes, man, somebody on the team with charisma needs to get Russ, P-Watt, Christian Braun together and be like, hey, we're the dogs. When we're on the court, especially together, that's when it's like, hey, let's challenge ourselves. We're going to have a 3-minute stint here. Let's get 3 steals, 3 blocks, 3 steals. Like, let's see what we can do here and just see how many transition points we can turn in. And I just think, to me, that's a part of the identity that has never really been there for Denver. KCP's a great defender, but he's not attacking. He's shutting down.
The only thing he attacked was the moving screens.
He's very good at attacking those. But I think this dog mentality, man, is just something that Denver could really, really use.
I agree.
And I think it's something they've never cultivated, quite frankly. But
do you think they have enough dogs on the team? Or they need another dog?
I actually think they have more dogs than they did the title year.
Yeah,
they might. They might have more dogs right now.
Who else was it?
Christian,
I'm sorry,
Bruce.
Bruce. I mean,
Christian and Bruce were
Brown.
your dogs?
But Christian wasn't even.
I know he's still a pup.
He was a puppy dog.
He was a pup.
Yeah. And now you've got a handful, and you're always going to have a couple on the court. So for me, I think that's one thing about this identity that it's, again, is that scheme? Probably a little bit, because risk versus reward is one of the things your scheme determines. But I would say, hey, turn it up, man. Guys, fly around. Just disrupt the other team and throw them off of their rhythm. And that brings me to the NBA Cup last night. Did you guys watch? Were you watching the Cup?
I did not watch last night.
Not. No,
you guys missed it.
I did not.
Fill me in.
Fill me in.
I went on a
the
date.
Association. It was an A+ night, man. And I'm going to we can talk about both. I was so impressed with the Orlando Magic, and I was who lost, but barely, without Franz and Paolo. And I was so impressed with Oklahoma City, because talk about teams that understand their identity and get guys to fly around. The intensity that OKC defends with, we always talk about you have to take away the rim or you have to take away the 3, but you can't always take away both. They do, and they do it because their guys are going so hard Their rotations in to cut off the ball, like a dribble penetration, are insane. And their breaks to go close off the 3-point line are Usain Bolt level sprints. And they just do it because they have so many guys. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, those guys are empowered and rewarded for that. When they do that well, the whole team is going nuts. And it's like they don't even get a stat on that. They just scrambled for 30 seconds, and it was amazing.
The highlight that I saw from last night was Lou Dort shutting down Luka to the point where like Luka just gave up, it looked like.
He had a horrible game.
Right.
He was in the torture chamber for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, OKC, that is the ultimate team where you can tell everything that coach says is getting through to those players.
That's so true, man.
He's a great communicator.
Seems like it.
But they're also in that sweet spot too, where you're like, yeah, sounds good, coach. Everything you're saying's working. Everything we're doing's working.
Well, here's where I'm going to give him Dagnott credit. And I think Michael Malone's good at this because he's good to the media. I don't know if he's good at this, though, and how he articulates this to his own team. Because I think Michael Malone is at times afraid to really challenge certain members of the team. But Bart Dagnott, man, he articulates their identity so well. Yeah. And to me, like, I've just, every time he does a presser, I go listen to it because I'm like, man, this guy is so good. He would be a great podcaster, but
he's got bigger fish to fry.
He got bigger fish to fry. But I think that team, it's like, why does Isaiah Joe know exactly what his role is? Well, I'm certain part of it is that Dagnott has created a team vision that's very clear. All right, that's who we are collectively. An individual vision so that all the players are like, here's where I fit into that, and this is what I do. And they have all these guys that were Isaiah Joe is considered a flawed player. He can shoot, but he's little. Guy plays incredible defense in the scheme and everything else. Yeah. So I look at it and I go, that's an example of a coach that's set a vision and articulated how everyone fits into it so perfectly. And
the structure is so good. Like, they could pick up a guy off the street. They could pick up Brendan Vogt. And I would feel okay with Brendan Vogt playing 10 to 15 minutes a game off the Thunder bench.
Wind. They'd play him at center.
Right.
And it would work.
Yeah. I bet you'd still have a positive net rating. In the non-SGA minutes.
They may be the leaders now in the clubhouse. You could throw Boston and honestly Cleveland in there right now for
program.
We're just rowing in the right direction.
Yeah,
everyone is on the same page. Here's where we're headed.
And I'm telling you, man, that's a huge, huge part of it. Just having everybody.
I mean, it's what Denver had. That's the sauce they had that they don't have now, in my opinion.
And this is why when people were talking dynasty, this is where they got it both right and wrong. Is I think the Nuggets have the talent, and still, in my opinion, have the talent to do this. But what set that team apart was their connectedness. And everybody took for granted that connectedness is a thing that just, if you have it, you have it. It's not true.
But it could go away.
Every day. It's almost like what they say about, when you get married, it's like, well, you can't stop dating her. You got to quit dating her because your whole life, you don't want to get self. I feel like it's the same thing for a team. Where you're like, yeah, we're connected, but every day we have to work to refine. What's the vision? What are our roles? Do it. What's the vision? What are our roles? Just keep refining it so you never fall out of it and you stay in it. And those teams are, man. They're really impressive.
Yeah. But who else impressed?
Well, let me take it to Kenrich Williams here. Because,
here we go.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Here we go. Crack open a Miller Lite.
Because I've been saying this for a long time, and people think it's like defensive Cal. I've been so vocal about the mistakes I think Cal has made. A lot of them. And not all of them are just personnel based. I think there's some things that just like when you talk about what does the team need right now, does the front office set the culture there or this or that? So I've been very critical. But one thing I will say is the Nuggets have brought in a lot of guys. Thomas Bryant was having a phenomenal year.
Phenomenal.
Comes to Denver, worst he's ever played.
Sucks.
All of a sudden you can't play him. You bring, they've had a carousel of backup centers that haven't worked out. Last night, against a good big team that plays big players, they threw out Kenrich Williams for 17 minutes.
Yep.
And you know what they were? Plus 17. Out-rebounded the Mavs. Got all
How
these
tall is
transitions.
Kenrich Williams?
He's my height, but way skinnier.
What?
Way skinnier.
How can he possibly rebound?
Because he understands what his role is on that team. And when he goes there, the rotations on our point. And not only do they understand what he is, but they understand, okay, here's what we are. We're small. They've got Lively or they've got Gafford. Way too big. So we're going to have to help there, but we're going to have to really scramble on the weak side. And while they're bigger than us, we're faster, and we're going to use that to our advantage. And I look at that and I go, they survived without Chet or Hartenstein for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Made it work. And so this is why I'm so skeptical of this idea of like, well, there's no players for coach to work with.
There's tons of players.
They've got tons of players, man. And yes, your end of bench is going to be weak. But why can other teams plug in these random guys who haven't played in years, and all of a sudden it's like, we're plus 17 tonight with a 6'5", 200-pound guy guarding Lively?
It's a really good point. I think it's really fair to talk about the way Denver just hasn't been able to do this regardless of personnel. I think it's the most fair, long-standing criticism of the org and people involved that you can make right now. I do think among everything we just said, which is also very true and important, and if not essential, they are also in that nice spot where they haven't had to pay everyone yet. They've had a lot of draft picks to pull from. So not surprising that their team is as complete as it is, but they're also taking advantage of that in all the ways you mentioned.
I want to see Peyton Watson play more center.
Oh, man, I don't know about that.
Could he not do a Kenrich Williams impression?
Well, I don't know, in part because Kenrich Williams is another zero mistake guy, and I think Peyton, he's a better player. But I
if
think he's
Piwot honed in on rebounding, protecting the rim from that position, he could be a better version of Kenrich Williams in that spot.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. But your point still remains that what is happening there is just a team that understands, okay, we're a different group right now, and we're going to play a different way. And they just got steals. They got into you. Nothing was easy. They have all these big guys. They couldn't throw it over the top because they were just swarming. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to have to get into you. Nobody can dribble the ball when we have this tiny lineup out there. They're going to have to pass the ball around, not dribble it. And it's those types of things that, again, to me, it all comes down to setting a vision and understanding where every piece of the puzzle fits into that vision. And the Nuggets can get there, man. They really can.
And if you just look at like roster to roster, bench to bench, the Nuggets have so much more talent on paper than the Thunder do coming off the bench. Like, this is the Thunder's bench. Kenrich Williams.
Yeah.
End of benched guy.
Sure.
Playable, though.
Caruso, very
Phenomenal.
good. Very, very, very
Phenomenal.
good. Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, AJ Mitchell.
I mean, last
You're
night,
going to tell
you're
me
right.
that's more talent than the Nuggets have coming off the bench?
And what were they last night? Did you see? Are they all plus?
Double-digit pluses.
Double-digit pluses.
Few of them.
So if you think that lineup is better, because Caruso's really good, Isaiah Joe's been phenomenal, but no matter what you think of it, that's a big team, Dallas, who has a great depth, and yet that lineup of people were double-digit pluses?
Yeah.
Can you pull up that comment from Robert really quick, too? The other thing, too, now is start now. Like, teams like OKC and Boston, they get to guard everyone different than everyone else because the refs look at them as one of those teams. Like, Denver isn't one of those teams. So then when you try to get up in someone, that's a foul. I'm saying, like, literally set that reputation for yourself, because that is a thing that officials will subconsciously lose track of. This is a defensive team. Well, we let them scrap.
Isaiah Joe in the comment is amazing. He is amazing, man. He's unbelievable. But they didn't get him because he was amazing. They helped make him an amazing
Isaiah
player.
Joe was a cast-off guy that few people wanted.
Yeah, and he's unbelievable.
There's no
I mean,
reason Julian Strawther cannot be Isaiah Joe.
We're going to hit our break here. I want to continue this conversation very briefly on the other side because it does come back to the first quarter woes, in my opinion.
Guys, check out Miller Lite. MillerLite.com/DNVR. A lot's changed over the years. One thing that hasn't, not the Nuggets backup center. That's the great taste of Miller Lite.
I like the second one a lot more.
It was the original light beer. To this day, it is still the best one. Miller Lite has more of the taste you want, less of the stuff that you don't. Miller Lite, perfect for any occasion, and they keep it simple. Undebatable quality, great taste, and only 96 calories. It's the beer that strips away everything you don't need and holds on to what matters most. A light beer that tastes like beer, less filling, only 96 calories. The original light beer since 1975. Miller Lite tastes great. It's the best light beer out there. It actually has taste. Actually tastes like beer.
It does.
For 96 calories and for a light beer, that's all you're looking for. Times change, but you can always enjoy the great taste of Miller Lite. Tastes like Miller. Time to get Miller Lite delivered right to your door. MillerLite.com/DNVR, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces.
Bet365, they're longstanding partners of ours. They're also official partners now of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. And the thing about Bet365 is whatever the moment is for you as a sports fan, it is never ordinary at Bet365. Every day, they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more with over 10,000 boosts every month. They boost specific markets, your winnings, even parlays. We have some custom DNVR bets and boosts that we work hard on. So keep your eyes peeled for those when you're hanging out at Bet365. You can always rock with us, or rock with us every pregame show before every Nuggets game, where Superstar Dev throws out some nice bets, including his locks. New customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Sign up, use the code DNVR365, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. Whatever the moment, fellas, it's never ordinary at Bet365. You have to be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, we're back here the last segment. The final point on all of this with identity is I actually think it's part of why Denver's first quarters are rough. And second quarters in particular. I mean, obviously, the second quarter, it's largely about that bench coming in. But I think Denver stabilizing in the second half at least has something to do with that thing. The Nuggets come out here and like, all right, we got to feel out the game. We got to feel it out. What's the texture of the game? Whereas I think your teams that are ahead of the curve right now know who they are. Yeah. And on possession number one, it's like, what am I doing? What am I doing tonight? What is it that is my role? Defensively, what am I doing? And I think Denver goes into the ring, gets slapped around a little bit, and then goes into halftime and is like, we got to start throwing punches. And I think that's a part of it, is the identity probably plays into this.
Yeah, for sure. And they probably also play their bench a little less in the second half usually.
For sure.
Probably.
But I mean, if you think
Gordon
about that drop off,
center.
how many times Jokic this year has had to score 16 straight points to catch up?
He shot 20 times in the third quarter.
Yeah, in the third. Yep, in the third.
That was like the most since Kobe. That 1 year.
But even first quarters, we've had a handful this year where it's like, wow, Jokic's got 11 shots already because the team is behind early, which is...
Well, I also think, part of it is maybe him not trusting them because he used to feel it out.
He did.
Okay, this is a Murray quarter to start. It's a Porter quarter to start. We're going to read the defense. I'll find my moment. No. And now he's just like, from the opening tip, it's now or never. Yeah. It really feels that way to me. So
I just look at this and I go, I'm such a believer in basketball, such a fascinating sport, but at its core, it really is about five guys coming together to understand a common mission. Yeah, maybe it's because I'm watching Band of Brothers. We were talking about this the other day. I'm doing a real rewatch.
I love romanticizing this shit, man. It's the best.
It really is one of those ones where you're like, man, under duress, everybody has a role to play in this very intense situation. Basketball, not to compare these things in terms of importance, of course, but there are similarities just in terms of structure and how it works. And the structure is when guys understand the mission and where they fit into it, good things happen. And that's why basketball rules.
And so do they come out of this, right? This is where they're at. You see the fractures, you see the splinters, you see what's not working. Is this the end, as many have prophesized? Or is this one of those turning points for a core in a group where they go through this, they come out of it, and they've learned an enduring and important lesson? I'm not hopeful that's the case just yet, or I'm not confident rather, but I am hopeful.
I'm hopeful, but not confident too. Yeah. And I actually think it's going to be a very interesting couple weeks coming up. 4 games in the next couple weeks. 4 games between now and the 22nd.
Can we preview the Clippers game for the next 2 days?
The Clippers, maybe the Clippers.
Not
some
again.
Fun stuff here to round out the show here in the last 8 minutes. Basketball Reference has released their most searched team and players across the globe, or across America. And what do you know, guys? You look at this and you see a whole lot of purple. Everyone wants to know about LeBron James. Not us here in Colorado, baby. This made me so proud.
Me too.
When I saw this, I was like, what is wrong with everyone except for Colorado? And you know what? Shouts to Milwaukee. Boston, whatever. I'm not giving them credit for that.
That one feels more like delusion. You know what I mean?
Delusion. What are they Googling Tatum for?
Wow. I mean, this is real tough for Suns fans to swallow, I would think.
Oh,
real tough for
what a great starting point.
I didn't even think of that.
Real tough for Luka fans to swallow in Dallas.
Man, Dallas? LeBron? What are we doing, Dallas?
Tough look, guys.
We always knew Cowboys fans were Lakers fans too. This is good proof right here. But I'm honestly proud. Look at that. How beautiful it looks too, being right there in the middle.
I'm so proud of you, Colorado.
Colorado, man. You guys did it, man.
I think Oklahoma might be the craziest one because they're the only pro sports team in that state.
That is true, Kel.
That is true, man.
That's wild.
There are a lot of shockers on there. All right, scroll down a little bit. Isn't there some more graphics here on this?
What's Canada doing?
And then I like this one too. Shouts to us for getting our team right. Call it the Denver Nuggets. A lot of Boston in the Midwest, though.
I'm trying to explain this to you guys. This is the real plague. It's not the Lakers. It's the Celtics.
That's so wild to me, man.
Also, by the way, the Lakers don't even have their own state. They get Hawaii, though?
Oh, I love that the Lakers win the LeBron thing. But is LeBron bigger than the Lakers now? Yes, clearly. And how hilarious is that?
Wow, man. That's crazy.
Don't even get California. I'm also proud of this one, man. There's many years when this graphic would have come out where Denver would have really let me down. But you know what?
The way that goes coast to coast, man. Someone's got to stop.
A lot of people are calling that the green wave.
The green.
Also, Montana. What's Montana's deal with the Suns?
Well,
that makes no sense.
Also, Wyoming, I see you. I thought we were brothers, man. I thought we were brothers.
Wyoming just has no idea what's going on.
We no longer claim Wyoming. Get out of here, Wyoming. All righty. What else we got here? Oh, Yoke's been going off lately. Have you guys been seeing the numbers?
He's been playing well.
I've seen that. Yeah,
You guys been seeing it?
I've caught that. Yep.
He's
Scoring,
had
assisting,
56,
rebounding.
He had 48. He's had 40. Playing his best basketball since the Joker won release party.
Ooh.
Now, Joker not good at marketing himself. The Nuggets not good at marketing him. The league not good at marketing him. If this were anyone else, if Kawhi Leonard or, like in his heyday, or LeBron switched shoes from one to the other and then averaged 45, 15, and 10 in new shoes, wouldn't this be the biggest story?
It feels like it would be.
Can I push back?
Sure.
Because I saw you put that out there.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go. It's kind of like the Jokic versus Steph and LeBron numbers stat. It's like, no, man, I think he's just been really good.
No, yeah. No, he's been a little bit better, though. I will say you are right.
The whole time
He's just been playing the Eastern Conference.
I'm just saying, man, he puts these shoes on for 5 games. In his last 5 games, the numbers went up.
That's
and
true.
If that was Nike or someone else, they'd be like, is it the shoes? And nobody even knows that he has new shoes that he's playing with. Is there a chance it is the shoes?
It's definitely not the shoes, but I will say that watching those videos from him at the shoe release party, it seems like he genuinely loves the shoes.
Yeah.
Like he actually is really into them. The design process, which he helped in.
We got to break
the
these down
little
tomorrow.
features of it.
Yeah.
It seems like he actually likes them.
We need to save the full discussion for D-Line, but I agree with you, man. He also said they showed me respect. We got to break that down.
A lot to
There's
unpack.
a lot there.
Put a pin in it.
Put a pin in it, guys. We'll do this offline.
Yeah.
Lastly, I just wanted us to give the funniest good outcome because Pickett did have like 6 good minutes the other day. It's
kind of there already.
Which is
It's kind of there already.
So I was sitting here thinking about the funniest possible outcome for our Denver Nuggets this year. Pickett and Zeke save the season to me is on the table. The bench really gets an identity with Pickett and Zeke. By the way, Michael Malone shouted out Pickett today, saying he's getting some run. It would be hilarious if Pickett played well.
He is getting some run.
That is a fact.
Shout out Jalen Pickett. He's getting playing time.
It would be absolutely hilarious. It would be absolutely hilarious. There's no way around it. It would be hilarious.
Can you imagine if like one of those guys, let alone both, but one of those guys came in and was actually like, you know what,
man?
Season turned when
Who
Pickett
do you have
started
more
playing.
confidence in?
Well, Pickett. I have none in Zeke. I mean,
that's the right
I
answer.
have none in either one, but I
Well, yeah. The sad part about the Zeke thing is, I already tried it.
I tried it a few times. I mean, Pickett also has the unfortunate thing where he'll never play with Jokic, whereas Pickett can. Malone just never did last year, but this year he is.
Right, like Zeke can't really play with Jokic.
No, there's no point. So he'll never get the Jokic
That kind of
minutes.
kills that dream.
It kills it.
Yeah.
What's another funniest outcome, though, for all of this? Nuggets falling to like the 8 seed and then beating OKC would be pretty funny, I guess. I don't want to have to go through that torture, but it would be pretty funny to hear about how good of a program they have.
Can I ask you a real question?
Yeah.
Because I don't think funny is the right word.
Okay.
Would it be funny, chat, fellas, if Jamal Murray was great in the postseason?
Yes.
It'd be a little funny.
Would it be funny?
It would be funny. It would be very annoying, and I don't think he would earn the fan base's full
very
and
annoying.
total love, but he would
Very
be
annoying.
like that.
But it would be funny.
Yeah, but it would be
if they're
funny.
just great.
Just dominant. Just unbelievable. Not any other funny stuff you think?
Chat says Pikagami incoming.
Pikagami? Pickett got a Yokagami?
Pikagami.
Pickett got a Yokagami. We're like, it's never been done before. Unbelievable. Okay, we got some super chats. MBJ becoming an all-star before Jamal. That would actually be funny. It's not going to happen, though. But
Devout Yokogamist Lumi of the Church of Jokic.
oh, incredible.
I've converted from being a Nuggets fan to a Yokogamist. All are welcome at the Church of Jokic, a sect of believers that functions similar to Brody's.
I think this, you know what?
It kind of bums
Please
me
don't
out.
take on their online persona, though.
Yeah.
So, not enough for them that Russ is playing well and everyone's happy.
I love this. The framing of this question is just a perfect Cedric.
Cedric Exquisite. Pick one, Herb or Levine.
Herb.
And then why can't we get
Why can't we get
Vucevic?
Vucevic? Amazing.
Herb Jones is unbelievable,
Vucevic
man.
makes too much money.
Herb Jones would be incredible anywhere he goes. Hopefully not Dallas.
I would give up so much in my life for Herb Jones in Denver. So much. 5555555-ish. Good news, I made an off-day live show. Bad news, it's only because I'm at home sick.
Oh, that
feel
took a
better.
turn.
5555555-ish.
Yeah, I feel better.
Jalen Pickett unlocking the bench would be the funniest outcome ever.
Really would,
It
man.
would be, yeah.
Booty ball takes over. Everybody loves him.
Nugs. My dad is singing the national anthem for Friday's game. He got to do it last year. It was such a fun experience. He got to meet Adam and Swipa courtside.
Wow.
What a treat. And that's when you go to Ball Arena, you got to meet Adam and Swipa. And if you don't,
do it.
God, who?
Druid Trading. I'm buying all the Pickett stock. Hell yeah.
It's free right now.
It is
so it's
penny
actually,
stock.
I'm buying some too.
Really?
It
Are you
honestly
being
already
serious?
happened.
You're
No, I'm
buying some
serious.
Pickett stock?
I'm buying a little bit.
The penny stocks are on fire right now.
I saw
It's a
someone
penny
tweet.
stock. You can get
a penny
500
stock.
shares for $5.
Someone tweeted Mares was right Sunday night. So it's already started. It's already
All it
started.
took was 4 points.
Even Adam's like, hang on.
6 passable minutes, and everybody was like, I'm on the picket line.
Druid
Dude,
Trading.
just playing with Jokic. Man. It's not hard.
KCP was our defensive identity / role model. I actually like the role model part. That's a guy who defensively didn't take possessions
Yep,
off.
100%.
Ever. Hey, babes, says Cedric. Get wind or vote on OKC. No, Adam with legs.
Another banger super chat. Everybody, thanks so much for hanging out with us for a full hour today. We got one more off day show tomorrow, and I'm actually very excited for what I think we're going to talk about. Should be a good one. Hit that like button. We'll see you tomorrow.